Launching an instant classic is a very difficult task. You need three aces in your hands. The first, you need a manufacturer with a mission, with something distinct to prove. Secondly, you have to have the media totally in your pocket. And thirdly, you need public affection, without which there will never be a classic. In the 70s, Citroën were distressed with just having a domestic reputation, so they bought Maserati. And as a result, they created the glamorous coupe, the SM. Beautiful body, headlights that turned with the steering wheel, all the technology you would hope for, along with the 4-cam V6 Maserati engine. The media fawned over it, which was all they could want for. Graham Hill, in a feature for me, even voted it as a future classic. And yet, it stiffed as an icon. Now Honda are trying exactly the same thing with this new Integra. Over the years, they have been dogged with a domestic image. They make beautiful cars, they're all well screwed together, and yet attempts to become more glamorous have failed. In the 60s, they ran briefly a Formula One team, but that lackluster venture died away. They had the same exercise with their very beautiful supercar, the NSX, which is £70,000, but it failed to get public attention, even though the media again fawned over it. Now they're campaigning with all the PR skills they know with this Integra Type-R. They're drawing in the media praise from all directions, using a campaign that seems to be impossible to fail. And yet there's no certainty it will be a classic. They started by running a Group N, which is a virtually standard car, privately on 9 of Europe's race circuits, and they've collected 8 unofficial lap records. They've then used that information to bait us media. They've sent out press releases, and they brought this car into the country for one day. And the 4 lucky media, needless to say, we're very grateful, and everything in print raved about it. The second ace appears to be working. They've sent press releases out announcing an extraordinary price of £19,500, which is the accurate price, unlike our rivals who were talking of £23,000 on air. They also referred in the same releases to the fact it was a privilege to drive it, just to make sure everyone that got in this thing was impressed. Naturally, TV gets special attention, and our rivals have obediently towed the line with unrestricted praise and glamorous pictures. We've no reason to spoil the party, and so let's go. Cue the music. All those traditional passing shots. The expected flicking of gear knobs. Glowing journalists have actually placed this car on a sort of high-performance altar, and certainly it is the most powerful 1.8 non-turboed engine in the world at the moment. But if you look at the figures in comparison to the stunningly styled Fiat Coupe, and you'll see that the Honda is great, but it isn't actually God. What is truly fabulous is the strength of this car. There are extra stress bars all over the place, and it is really rigid. It is truly fun to throw around the circuit because the combination of the really high revs that the VTEC engine will give you and a rigid platform really makes you feel like a godlike figure. The VTEC engine itself is virtually 2 cams, with the option, the second one coming in at about 5,700 revs, which gives you another genuine power band all the way up to a staggering 9,000. So what has Honda really been up to? The Integra range has been going in Japan for around 12 years and is really just a domestic range of cars. There's nothing important about them at all. This is the top of the range for Japan and again has been out for a while. Curiously enough, it's suddenly now launched here. And it doesn't really win any awards for beauty. It does have a huge tailgate and a huge boot, which does genuinely provide a large space if you're in the market for such a car. It's white, it boasts a fashionable spoiler, and that's pretty much the extent of it at this end. The white is meant to be reminiscent and celebratory of those Grand Prix cars from a previous decade, and the red, which you see embellished over the logos and the name, are actually meant to also be reminiscent. I actually was at Silverstone during testing with the original F1 cars. From my memory, it was actually orange. And at the front end, the important news, which of course is their VTEC engine. It's curious that, like with the Citroën, the important element is up front. This is a magnificent beast, and they should be very, very proud of the engineering that's gone into it. Inside, it's all pretty cheap and nasty. It shows its origins as a very domestic Japanese vehicle. It's all plastic trim. Some of the journalists have actually got very carried away and talking about it being race bred, and as such there should be nothing in it. The truth is Honda have kept this car very light, so the figures are high for us. However, air conditioning, hi-fi, even a CD are listed by them in their press releases as extras. Strange analogy again with the Citroën. The glamorous seats you see are the one serious change. They're wonderful seats, they're competition seats, and like the Citroën SM that tried to make the interior look sexy that way, Honda have done just the same thing. Driving it, that's another matter. As you can see, this is Honda's engineering at the highest level. The big question is why? Why the Type-R? Why bury such a fabulous engine in a domestic coupe? Why bring just a few hundred in at what looks to be a cut price? Perhaps, unlike our rivals, we should be looking beyond this car. Maybe back there is a stunning all-new Honda waiting to house this engine, this quite extraordinary VTEC engine. Maybe that's the future classic, not this.
Well, it's definitely raining again. Here we are at Tatton Park in Cheshire at the Classic Car Show. We're actually looking at Ford XR3s and XR4s later on, and we'll also be looking at classic car clubs in general and how easy it is to join them. Well, here we are on the Ford XR Owners Club stand with Alistair Warwick Nelson, who's got a Fiesta XR2, which is his pride and joy. Spent many thousands of pounds on it. Well, obviously, Alistair, it's a nice car, but how much money have you actually spent on it so far?
To date, I think we're in about excess of £3,000, and it's still a standard car. It's not a modified one.
Well, obviously, the engine bay looks as if you clean it every morning and every night by the look of it. So, what about you haven't done anything at all with the engine? It's just a standard engine.
It's a standard engine. Basically, all I've done is I've gone round a lot of parts that were like normal metal or dull painted, and basically just polished them up. Like I said, it's all just polished. It's not chrome plated or anything. Yeah.
So you haven't really done anything marvellous to the actual engine itself, then? It's just a basic standard engine?
No, it's a stock 1600 engine, yeah.
Okay. And obviously, why did you decide the XR2i of all the other Fords you could have chosen?
It's, I think it's really a very understated car. It tends to have got an impression of being a hairdresser's car for some reason. But it's, I don't know, it's just, I think, just a nice looking car. It's one that Ford actually managed to get right, and it was all, you know, everything's there. You got the power, you got a good style with the body kit, the wheels, etc. You know, and it's, I mean, I love it to death, mate.
Well, this is another Sierra XR 4x4 and the proud owner here, John Brooks. Well, John, why did you choose the XR 4x4?
Well, I've had a few other XRs as well. I've still got an XR2 and an XR3. And I always wanted a 4x4. My wife at first said, oh no, too big. But then when she saw them, she liked it. And it's just got so much go in it. It just pulls lovely, and any gear it accelerates. And it's just nice.
So obviously it's a standard car, it's a very good buy, isn't it?
It is, it's a very good buy.
Because obviously on the market, we've done quite a bit to the wheels and tyres on this, which I think improved the handling as well. Do you notice the difference when you took the old tyres off and put these new ones on?
Yes, there's a lot of difference. It grips much better now.
And what else have you done to the engine bay? Because you've also got some pretty special K&N filters there, which certainly aren't standard. Does that actually do much to improve the performance of it or not?
Yes, it's made quite a bit of difference. I put them on first, and it's got a stainless exhaust throughout, and it's been shipped as well, and it's put it up to 170 brake horsepower now.
Well, here's yet another XR3i, and this is under the proud ownership of Matt Fife. Well, Matt, why did you actually choose the XR3i amongst all the other Ford vehicles you could have gone for?
Well, I've had an XR2 before, and as we got a little baby on the way, we decided to get a bigger Escort, bigger car. Being an XR lover, I always decided to get an XR3i.
Okay, and obviously you've had this one for quite some time now. Have you had any problems with it at all?
I've had a few problems with the engine management system, but a friend of mine's got a computer that you can plug into it, and it's been sorted out now, so otherwise it's been alright.
Well, I must admit, it's a very clean car, and underneath it looks like you spend a lot of time polishing it.
Most certainly.
So what's it like on a day like today when it's actually threatening rain? Do you sort of try and get umbrellas all over it?
Absolute murder coming here this morning. We spent all weekend doing it, then you've got to start again when you get here in the morning, so murder doing it.
Well, the XR Owners Club is just one of many hundreds of clubs in the UK that cover ownership of various vehicles of classic and pre-classic ages. And if you're looking at buying a specific vehicle, obviously it's a good idea to join the clubs, because not only do you get a mountain of advice for free, you also get lots of help off other enthusiasts, and also probably get not free insurance, but certainly good rates on cheap insurance, which has been negotiated by the owners' clubs. So certainly from a saving money point of view, and also from getting advice and getting help, it's certainly a very good way of getting good care and attention for your loved classic car.
I don't want to appear nationalistic or anything, but we Brits do seem particularly gifted at inventing things. Take, for instance, Alexander Graham Bell, inventor of BT, or John Logie Baird, inventor of television, or Thomas Crapper. Well, I'll leave you to guess what he invented. More recently, there's been Alex Moulton, the inventor of hydrogas suspension and those weird bikes, Sir Clive Sinclair, who invented lots of good things apart from the C5, and the very latest name to add to this illustrious roll call is Stan Milward. Who?
Stan Milward, inventor of the car Cosy.
Stan, tell me what this futuristic blob is.
Yes, we sort of invented it about 18 months ago, and obviously, you know, necessity being the mother of invention, we had a pressing need for a cover for a nice new car, or an old car. I've got one or two cars, old and new, and we needed to get them into an environmentally protected condition. You can see where we're here with all the trees. And because of the necessity for keeping our cars in the correct condition and to have them immediately available, which is what it's all about, I suddenly thought of this idea and then began some 18 months ago. We had a DTI grant and a patent to get on with the job, and we're now almost at the end of the line to get it into production. And we hope that it'll be in production something in the next month or two. Having done a few shows and a few feedback from the public, it's absolutely first class. We think we're going to do the job.
It looks reasonably lightweight. What about the winter winds?
No, well, you can see the badges on the front. It says it's Meyer, and we tested it at the industry research establishment down in Northampton, and in fact it came through with flying colours. We had without anything in it, without being pinned down, we actually got a wind speed of 75 miles an hour sideways on, and it was stable.
Why should I buy a car Cosy rather than have a garage built?
Well, I think there's a lot of ways of looking at a car Cosy. First and foremost, simplicity. It arrives, you place it on the ground, you put your car inside immediately. You don't need to have any problems with drainage. It's just as your car stands on the drive, so the car Cosy does its job. It protects.
When you put your car away and it's wet,
Yes.
and the engine's still hot,
Yes.
surely that's a recipe for rusting if the air can't get out.
Well, that's right, and we thought of that on the concept and the onset. And in fact, we now have fan units, one heated, one not heated, and immediately the car comes in and the cover drops to the floor. Those will engage and will take out all of the hot air from the engine, gearbox and final drive assembly, and basically dry the car out. On top of that, the specification can also include, or will include for, a dehumidifier, so that if you're leaving the car in for any length of time, the fans don't engage. In fact, the humidifier does the job and will exhaust and keep the air inside the car Cosy dead on.
So that's the car Cosy, the latest invention from the country that gave you stainless steel, the cat's eye, and the widget. So remember, when you see one of these on your street, you saw it here first. Here you are, Stan. You can take this, I'm going for a spin.
There are lots of good reasons to drive a Volvo. Sensible reasons, like safety, comfort and reliability. But looks, forget it. You buy a Volvo in spite of, and not because of its looks. Don't you? Well, not anymore. Say hello to the C70 Coupe, a sexy Volvo with swoopy lines. A car that's billed as the Volvo you want, not the Volvo you need. It's fair to say that this is the first new, truly desirable Volvo in over 20 years. Its designer, Peter Aubrey, was given a blank sheet of paper to design the kind of car that he'd like to cruise in. It's a coupe to rival the best of the bunch, a car with sex appeal, one with the style you'd expect from something that claims to be a genuine Gran Turismo. The Gran Turismo had its heyday in the 1950s. It was a car to carry you and your luggage to your villa in the south of France, in comfort, style and elegance. A car that made the journey every bit as enjoyable as the arrival. So, can the C70 live up to that reputation? Or will it just leave you longing for the end of the road? Costing just over £30,000 in its basic form, the full name is the C70 T5. And the T in the 5 lets you know that there's something quite special underneath the bonnet. This 2.3 litre 250 brake horsepower engine first appeared in the 850 T5, where it got a reputation for amazing performance, and there's no reason why it won't be just as hot in this incarnation. As soon as you get in and turn the engine over, you're greeted by a rich, throaty welcome. You can get from 0 to 60 in around 7 seconds, and believe me, you'll have no problems overtaking in the C70, not with a top speed of 155 miles per hour. Now that's an awful lot of power for a front-wheel drive car to handle, but thanks to a collaboration between Volvo and the Formula 1 engineers TWR and their work on the chassis, the C70 has no problems in handling it all. It may be sporty, but the ride doesn't feel too hard. It holds the road beautifully and gives you plenty of grip through the bends. The steering feels taut and it feels direct. All in all, it's a driving experience to make you smile. On the road, the C70 is definitely a real head-turner. It It may not be the prettiest of coupes, but the muscular swooping lines are very attractive. It's fresh and sharp, and it's still a Volvo. And the inside also reflects that heritage. The layout in here is almost identical to that of the S and the V70. It isn't flash and it certainly isn't trendy. What it is simple, well laid out, and it has a quality feeling. It feels rather expensive. The wooden dash trim is part of a £5,000 GT pack which is fitted to this vehicle, and that's crammed full of all manner of goodies, things like electric heated seats, climate control and even an onboard computer. And if you were to head off on your grand tour of Europe in the C70, you'd have plenty of room. There's enough space in here to seat 4 adults comfortably. There's plenty of head and leg room. And there's lots of space in the back for all the luggage. The backseat passengers may not relish the thought of spending hundreds of miles sat in the back of here, but it's far more comfortable than most in its class. Volvo have gone all out to make you feel emotional about the C70. It's certainly the most desirable Volvo we've seen in a long, long time. It's not the most powerful coupe on offer, nor is it the most graceful, but it is the kind of car that you'd be very happy to live with. It's enjoyable to drive, you feel relaxed behind the wheel, and you travel in comfort. Yeah, I reckon the C70 can genuinely stake its claim as a real Gran Turismo, and not just a saloon posing in a new suit of clothes.